All right, welcome everyone to the final tribal council of Trinity Survivor Deception Island. It has been the wildest season that we've ever seen. 17 have fallen, and we are left with 3. Tonight, Kevin, Robert, and Z face the jury. One of them will be crowned the winner of Trinity Survivor Deception Island. Now, because he won the final immunity, Robert was given the option to decide the order in which you guys would give your opening statements. And Kevin, you will go first. So Kevin, whenever you're ready.
All right. Hello, jurors. Before I go into this, I do just want to thank all of insane, chaotic, and fun org I've ever played on this site and probably will ever play. Virtually every member of this merge tribe, if the roles were switched, they would have a credible shot to win this thing because the cast was just so strong. But this is my pitch as to why I believe I should be the sole survivor. From the start of this game, I wanted to make a point to make personal connections with everyone. The emphasis on the social aspect of this was my main focus. I coupled the social aspect of this game with a couple big moves that were instrumental in the minority group becoming the majority after the Nick vote. I believe that Z will say that he played the best strategic game, while Robert will say he played the best social game. But I'm the only one of the three of us that can say that they played a game that used both of these aspects. And, you know, I've made mistakes in this game, and I look forward to being able to answer your questions and address them. Thank you.
Okay, Z, you are up next.
Okay, mine's going to be quite a bit wordier than that. So, first of all, to all of you on the jury, I want to say that almost without exception, I've enjoyed playing with you. I've enjoyed playing against you. I've enjoyed getting to know you, whether it was for the first time or simply better than I knew you before. A number of you seem to have had issues with the way some of you have implied that you either won't listen to what I have to say or will come into this strongly committed to voting for other people, which is why I believe that this opening statement needs to perhaps be wordier than it would be otherwise. All I ask is that you try to remove your preconceptions and biases and give what has been an amazing season a hard-fought finish that it deserves, in line with the hard-fought play throughout it. I truly believe that I have played a very strong game. I haven't played a flawless game. I may not have played the game you thought I did, or even the game that you wanted me to, but I've played a strong game, and now I just have to try and convince you of that. To begin with, my competition record is better than the two people sat next to me, and indeed the majority of the jury. I have 2 wins, 2 further runner-up places. Considering some of the competitions were never going to suit me, I think that's a strong record. Strategically, I have worked my arse off to make moves that will benefit myself. There were elements of the Nick vote, which, whilst not as flashy as Kevin's play, helped me get to where I am now. The Dan vote may not have seemed like a significant one to all of you. However, for me, it was absolutely vital to my game. The Livingston vote was my idea. I believe that some of you thought it was Tim's doing, but it came from me, and it was again pivotal to how the rest of the game unfolded. The Tawny vote had my thumbprints all over it. All these plays are reasons why I'm here. And that isn't to say that I didn't have some control of other votes too. The vast majority of the merge evictions have my mark on them somewhere. There are also subtler moves, such as my time on Deception Island. All these things I hope to discuss with you in more depth. What's more, I have never played with anything other than intensity. I've never apologized for playing the game. I've never shied away from getting your blood on my hands because I want to be seen as coming here to play the game. I got votes in the first round because I came out swinging from day one. Since that, I have not had a single vote cast against me, despite several times being the name in people's mouths. I found an idol which I managed to carry all the way through and never had to play. I'd like to contrast this with the two people alongside me now. Credit where credit's due, Robert has played a likeable social game, and he's won probably the hardest fought competition ever at Final Four. However, strategically, he's been a follower. He wanted to know what's happening. He wanted to know what he needed to do. He doesn't, in my opinion, have a resume in that respect. And then there's Kevin. Kevin has played a respectable game. I have seen almost all of it because Kevin was part of my ideal Final Three on day one. His game has been solid, but there have been massive holes in it. For one, he spent his game so desperate to distance himself from making moves against anyone he likes that he would choose to be the one in the split who kept things sweet. He was not loyal to any of you. He spent his time plotting your demises while lying squarely to your faces. Sometimes those moves weren't coming quickly enough for me, so I had to do something about it. His social game, in my opinion, was one of pandering and avoidance. And if you respect that, then fair enough. But personally, I like to play my game straight ahead. The majority of the time, you knew what I was thinking, and I tried my best to avoid making relationships that required me to lie or give people unreasonable expectations. It's a different kind of social game, but I do believe it is a social game. He allowed me to push him into, and at other times ignored me and made decisions which he has openly admitted weren't the right things to do. The tied vote in the pre-merge, he's openly admitted he should have pushed it to rocks to try and get Nick out, even though he has since tried to offer an unconvincing backtrack on that comment. You have members within your jury who will confirm this. He also regularly got sidetracked by personal feelings and needed reining in. At Final Six, he was so angry with Tim that he started seriously advocating for Tim to leave against all logic. I had to spend time getting him back on track to make a play to see Tawny leave with her idol with Tim as a suitable backup option. Once I knew I didn't need it, I gave him my idol in an attempt to chill him the fuck out, and he still got in a flap about the Michael vote. He needed talking out of quitting because of a couple of throwaway comments. I've been taking heat all through this game whilst battling real world issues. I could have given in at any time, but never got to a stage of needing to be spun around, whereas Kevin really gave up over something, or almost gave up over something, in my opinion, so benign. His physical game has been mostly lousy, his strategic game has had flaws, and his social game has been disingenuous. Add this to the fact that in a game about surviving, he would have thrown in the towel without intervention, and this paints a picture of why I believe I've played a better game than him. I believe our season deserves the best representative possible when it comes to being marked in the history books, and I believe I am the best possible. I hope this opening brings questions from you, and I hope it also brings an open mind. But with that said, thank you, and good luck to both Kevin and Robert.
All right, thank you, Z. And finally, Robert, go ahead.
All right, guys, so I'm going to try to make this short. This is my very first board game that I've played. I've never been on camera like this, so I was kind of confused on how the game was played out. And to be honest, I didn't really feel comfortable playing like this, so I don't think I'm going to do another org after this. I may or may not. I don't know. I'm definitely going to take a break, but yeah, I'm kind of camera shy, and I'm kind of shy in general. So if I feel like I'm stuttering or if I'm nervous a little bit, it's because I really am. As far as the game, I came in here, I didn't know a single person on the cast except for Tim. Me and Tim, we played in a different game, and we kind of had a rocky relationship in there, but I felt like I was going to be targeted right off the bat just because nobody knew who I was. And I know in order to do that, to get away from that, I had to do what I do best, and that was play a social game. I found the connections on my original Vargas tribe. I communicated with people. I treated people with respect. I never talked down to people. And a lot of the information that was coming to me, I believe it's better to keep it to yourself and not to go and tell other people, because I like to keep my trail clean. I don't want things coming back to me because I like to avoid conflict. And the very first Vargas vote, I was the fake vote, but if I feel like if Dalton wasn't there, if Dylan wasn't there, I probably would have gone home. So after that, we won the challenges, and then we got swapped, and I felt like the people that I swapped with, to make those connections with them. And then once we went to the merge, I got sent to Deception Island 2 times in a row. So I was left out of those big controversial, vote outs I didn't have any part in. But as soon as I came back from it, everyone, they needed my vote. So my vote was very crucial at that time. Right when I got there, it was like, I would compare it to like a gang war. Like there was a turf over here, there was a turf over here. And I was just like right in the middle. Everyone was like, Robert, 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 Robert. So I feel like that point turned the tide of the game power-wise. And then from there, maybe I didn't play, the best strategic game. I didn't play the best physical game. It's because I really didn't have to. I was put in that position where I didn't have to make those big strategic moves to keep myself safe or to get other people out of the game. I tried to play loyal with the people that I was playing with, and most of those people made it into the final 6 besides Livingston, which that was the only real blindside that I had throughout the whole game. I knew people perceived me as someone that they just wanted to take along to the end just because they felt like I didn't do a lot, but it's because I didn't have to do a lot. And I just continued to do that, and I try not to get a lot of blood on my hands, but when I needed to, I did. Tawny vote, I'm sorry, Tawny. Tim, I apologize. I should have told you I was going to vote you out. I really do feel bad about that. And then the final challenge, somebody told me that they felt like I was being strung along by certain people. And that last challenge, I went out there just to prove to everyone that I was here for me and that, I didn't have to play as hard as the others because of where I put myself. But if I wanted to, I could have. And that final challenge, I stood there for almost over 3 hours, and I made Tim, Kevin, both who were vulnerable at the end, give up. So I felt like that right there, I just made a last strong statement, whereas if I wanted to play, if I needed to play hard, I could have. But I'm looking forward to answering any of your guys' questions. So, yeah, that is my speech to you guys.
All right. Thank you to the 3 of you. We are now going to turn it over to the jury. So if any juror wants to be the first to ask their questions or make their statements, feel free to step forward.
Can I go first just so that I can leave this parking lot?
Yeah, go for it. The floor is yours, Johnny.
I think Michael also wanted to talk, but maybe not. I saw him raising his hand. I'm good? Okay. Let me get to my questions. I'm going to start with Kevin. So I feel like my question to Kevin might lose him a vote no matter how he answers it, but I guess honesty is probably the best answer then. So you made a Final Four chat with me, Dan, and Gwen. You told us about your idol supposedly before telling anyone else. Tim said that he hadn't even known about it. I don't know if that was true or not, but was this chat only to protect yourself? Did you have any intention at all of working with us? You selfishly wanted to keep the players that were targeting me, Dan and Gwen, which leads me to believe you were never intending on working with us, but maybe that's wrong and you can clarify.
Yeah, so, and you will see this in the rites of passage. There was a point in this game that I was more loyal to you 3. And that's straight from the heart. Because I had talked to you guys more personally than I talked to anyone in this entire cast, the entire season. It wasn't until the Jack vote that I had felt blindsided. And then I had already known about Tim's vote revealer. And yes, that is true. Tim had no idea I had the idol until right before that tribal. I can't remember if I told you and Gwen or Zeef after the other. but after the Jack vote, I had felt that maybe like you guys weren't really in the middle, like I was hoping that we were going to do. And then I'd come up with the idea that if I reveal your guys' votes with Tim's power, and the votes actually aren't going to, I believe it was Tim at the time, that would have told me that, okay, maybe that this trust isn't really there. And it did reveal that. I used the idol to idol out Nick. But no, there was a point in the game that I was more closely loyal to you three than Tim, Z, and any of the others. The only reason that I wanted to keep them in the game is because the big idea was to be able to keep Michael, Nick, Tim, and Z in the game, because they would have always continued to go after each other while the sides are picked off. I hope that answers your question, Johnny. And I just want to tell you, there's no hard feelings about this game. It was really intense, and tensions got really high. But I look forward to being friends with you after the season.
Just one quick clarification, because I don't know what you said. You said something at the end about you wanted to keep Tim, Z, Michael, and Nick. Mm-hmm. I don't know what you said after that.
Oh, it was because like it was right after like their big fight, and the idea that I had is that those four are always going to go after each other, and that's the reason that I was like trying to push off of Z and Tim. And then I just want to be able to counter that Z's point about like his votes, even though he was always a target. It's because I was always pushing people off of Z. I was always getting Z's name off, and I was always pushing it on to someone else. Z's strategy game cannot work without my social game that I played in this game. Z had no social game whatsoever in this. His idea of stabbing you in the front, it makes no sense, because straight up Livingston, like he totally went around. The only reason that he did that is because he had thought that Livingston would have won. And like Robert had said, that was the only point in this game that I had felt actually blindsided. I know, I'm sorry, Johnny, I went off on a little bit of a tangent there, but I hope I answered your question.
Yep. So I'm going to move on to Robert now. Robert, from what I've gathered, the entire jury thinks you did absolutely nothing. The only reason that you might get votes is to ensure that Z gets third. I have said multiple times that I would probably vote you because your social game had a score of 0, as opposed to Kevin and Z, who are in the negatives for me at some point. Why did you make no attempt to interact with half the jury as much as they did? And secondly, please, and I mean please, tell us something that you did that was game related or not game related within the context of the game that we don't know about. Any secret you kept, anything that will flip their minds to voting for you. Go ahead.
Right. So the first part about the whole social aspect thing about it is, I felt like I did make, I talked to people not really a lot game-wise, but more on a personal level. And I know that's had nothing to do with the game, but I still had those kind of connections there. I didn't want to go out to people like you, Gwen, who else was there? Dan. I didn't want to make alliances or game moves with you guys because I didn't want to. I didn't want to make any type of false promises that you guys would end up being mad at me. So when you asked me straight up, did I vote Gwen? I didn't vote for Gwen that round. I voted for Dan, and I was honest about it because, I wanted to work with the people that told me the truth instead of telling me that the fake vote was going to be Livingston. So if I had fallen for that fake vote, I feel like a lot of these people that made it this far probably wouldn't have gotten this far, and your side would have made it. So I felt like that was a big part of me too, deciding which side got power. As far as the moves, some people know about this, but once I went to Deception Island, I got 2 advantages. The first time I went, I got a double vote, which I believe I only told one person about, and I could only use it at 11, 8, and 5. And I saved it all the way up to the final 5 just in case I needed to use it, just in case, someone tried to get me out. I didn't know who the final 5 was going to be at that point, but I used it anyways just in case. And then the second time I went, I got a special immunity idol that can only be used in the next 2 votes, but the downfall on it was that I couldn't use it on myself. So I told Kevin, I told Tawny, and I told Livingston, who were my closest allies at the time, that if we needed to use it, I would have used it on any one of those 3. So if the power was going to be shifted again, if Z, Tim, or Gwen or somebody tried to shift the power again, we would have known about it, and I would have used my idol on them, and someone else would have left the game. And I was ready to make that move if possible for the people that I was working with.
Okay. I just quick question though before I move on to my last question. Julian, I assume that this is getting recorded and I can watch it back afterwards, and I don't have to vote right away, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Last one is more of a statement than a question, I guess. Z, I told you I would never vote you out of this game. I didn't alter that when you consistently wanted to keep people who wanted me out, like Nathan, Jack, Livingston, etc. And we might disagree on this, but the first chance you got to vote me out, however, you took it. You and Tim were never getting voted out by me or the people that I was with, at least from my perspective. You foolishly made deals and had excuses for why you could break those deals. You acted morally superior to everyone in this game, but played the dirtiest game of all. Just like you didn't give a second thought to making me lose this game, I really don't think I'm gonna give you any chance to get my vote. I hope you alter your strategy in the future to see that social game matters more than you think it does, and that being a strategic game bot isn't everything when you make the majority of the jury dislike you. Even your jury speech was cold and calculated and felt rehearsed. It was very robotic, and humans are based on more than just logic when their emotions do come into play. I know you said that Kevin played emotionally some of the time. We're much more complex than social game, I feel like, along the whole way, and it might be the downfall of you in this game. No hard feelings, that being said, to you outside of this game. I don't like how you played this one specifically. I don't dislike any of you. And good luck on the rest of the questions. Thank you.
Can I offer any kind of rebuttal to that?
Go ahead. Yeah, you're free to.
Okay, so the first thing I want to offer a rebuttal on is actually something Kevin said in his bit to you, because Kevin said that the only reason that he started turning against you guys was because of the Jack vote. However, you also wanted to know why he was trying to keep people who it didn't seem to be in your best interest to keep. His timeline appears to be a little bit questionable on that, because he's saying that he moved away from you as a result of the Jack vote, but that he was still trying to do things which were after the Jack vote, because Michael and Mai's argument was specifically after that. So either he wasn't still with you, or he was still, like, his timelines don't make any sense. Secondly, I have been told, and I think from one of the other jurors' facial expressions during this, it may well be accurate. You're sort of saying that at no point did you consider getting me out at all. I have it on reasonably good authority that you were trying to take me out on the swap tribe, considering a 2-2-1. So that doesn't seem to really add up to me. I do understand why some people won't agree with my social game. My social game has never been my strongest part. I focus on maximizing the bits that I do well at, and if I know that I'm not going to do something well, to me, focusing on the social bit would disadvantage the attention that I can pay to the things that I do well. I would disagree, however, that I am in any way a game bot. When you're able to see things like confessionals and stuff like that after the season, you will realize that lots of what I was feeling could be emotional, I just tried to keep that to my production chat and not put it into my game. Also, I tended to think about things in a very outside of the box fashion. To me, a game bot plays Survivor by numbers. I am not a by numbers player in any way, shape, or form. If I have to get to plan H to accomplish what I want to achieve and do something that's really fucking weird, I'll do it. So if you don't give me a vote, I was already expecting that. I'm not bothered by that. But I just wanted to clarify so that I at least felt that I had given the best possible response to your points.
I just want to say one last thing now that he brought it up. The 2-2-1 thing, because that did happen with Michael. In the case that you guys were voting Michael, I told him that we could have, was it Dylan, throw his vote, and that the two of us could vote you or Tim out. I told him that at the time because I didn't want to lose Michael. I still would not have voted you out. I don't know about Tim. I guess that part is up in the air to me. I really would not have voted you specifically out, Z. I would have tried to make it sure that both you and Michael were not leaving in that round.
Okay.
I wish that we could have talked about this. I don't know when that came up in the context of the game from Michael, but
I just think that the problem is not necessarily specifically that you would have necessarily voted me out, but if I have constant reasons to suspect it, and especially if things like that are going to happen that you're not going to give me a heads up about, it makes it feel like you're complicit in it, and therefore I can't put the trust in you that you seem to expect from me. As far as I was concerned, at the start of this game, my ideal final three was you and Kevin. I've said that multiple times. I stick to that. I am at least pleased to see that even if you hated my game, we're okay personally. I wasn't sure if that was going to be the case, if I'm quite honest, because I found you particularly objectionable in the run up to your eviction, and so I was a bit on the fence about that, but I am at least pleased to see that it is going to stay as game. Game is game and personal is personal, so that's fair enough.
I just want to clear up one little thing about my timeline. I thought I had made it clear. It was the Jack votes put the doubt in my mind, but it wasn't until, and that's why I did the vote revealer idle play, because it was once Gwen's vote was revealed that was actually Livingston was when it was the moment that I swapped, that I had flipped. But I was still planning on working with them after the Jack vote, but it wasn't until the vote revealer. So just wanted to clear that up.
Great. I'm going to drive home now, Julian. I'm going to watch the rest when I get home when you post it. So,
All right,
thanks,
thank
everybody.
you, Johnny. I'll try to have it up sometime tonight. If we get all jury votes in tonight, that'd be cute, but I get it if that's not possible. We'll see what we can.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, so whoever wants to step up next, feel free.
Okay, I would like to go next because I'm at Walmart and yeah. So first off, I'd like to say, Kevin, you have a very good shot here. Please do not screw it up because I really don't want to put somebody else's name down, but I will if you screw this up. So please don't screw this up.
No pressure.
This season, as we all know, was Deception Island. In the final, however, what it was, I don't know, was it 9, 10, 11, whatever it was, I'm the only person that did not get to visit Deception Island. So I want to hear from you guys because I was not able to have anything to do with idols or advantages other than that was the only thing I knew about. So I want to hear how you used advantages to your advantage as well as idols in this game to further your game. Also, I want to hear what helped your game, not what other people did to screw their own game up, because I want to hear, Yeah, I want to hear what positives about you, not negatives about others. Z, you can go first, but I want you to make it quick because you've been talking a lot, and I have to go inside.
Okay, I shall do this as quickly as possible. First things first, Deception Island. I went there very early. I did probably 3 things while I was there. First of all, I planted a fake idol. The image was blank. I changed it to an idol. This may seem trivial, but it was for a very deliberate reason. Livingston was there with me. He thought he might need to cast doubt on Noah, who had already been. So I did that so that when he could go back, if he needed to cast doubt on Noah, he could go, well, what about that idol in the picture, and try and fuel some paranoia. Second of all, I was off, we were both offered a vote block. Livingston turned it down. I accepted it. I had to gift it to someone on the other side. As Livingston was there, I gave it to Livingston. It meant it never left Deception Island, and it also gave me someone with some reliance on me on the other side. In addition, we spent the time discussing who on both tribes we could rely on. We started getting an idea of where the lines were so that in the event of a swap, both of us knew who to deal with. Then we had my idol from the merge. The idol was really useful to me because it allowed me to play with a sense of freedom. I knew I had one get out of jail free card, and actually it made me play with more fluency. It allowed me to make the moves I wanted to make, and if something came back to bite me on the ass, I knew I had at least one more round, and I've tried to do that as quickly as possible.
Okay. For me, so I have been completely honest about what my visit to Deception Island was like. I was never offered anything, but that doesn't mean that I didn't take advantage of the advantages. That's great that Z had an idol, that all these idols were there. Who actually played an idol? And who actually played it correctly to get out one of the biggest threats in this entire game and completely flip the majority? All the advantages, other than the vote block, that's the only one that I didn't know about. I was either the first person or one of the first people that person told about their advantage. I knew about the double vote. I knew about the idol. I knew about the vote revealer. I knew about Tawny's idol. I knew about Z's idol. And yes, I didn't get offered any advantage other than finding the idol. But my advantage was the knowledge I had in this game to be able to advance myself further. I didn't get the security of knowing that I had an idol in my pocket. But there was never a vote that, even though like sometimes I did play emotionally, in the back of my mind, I never thought I was going home. The following vote, when I had 4 votes, I had already known that I had flipped Robert and Tawny because of my connections with them on New Aguirre. Without me being on New Aguirre, I can guarantee that me, Robert, and Z would not be sitting here right now, and it would have been part of the original majority alliance of merge. So no, I didn't get any advantages other than finding my idol. My advantage was the knowledge in this game.
All right, so when I got sent to Deception Island, it was right at the merge, the very first vote and the second vote. The first time that I went, I got the double vote. I told some people, because they were asking, well, what did you get? And I didn't lie, I was offered the double vote, but I told some people that I didn't take it because I wanted to have that double vote in my back pocket just in case I needed it. I didn't think I was going to need to use it, and I was right, but I still kept it with me anyways. The second time that I went, I got the idol, but I can only use it at the next 2, which I didn't even need to use it anyways, and I couldn't even play it on myself. So I figured if I can't play this idol on myself, I might as well keep that double vote for me just in case. I didn't tell anyone about it, that I actually had it. I told people that I was offered a double vote, but I didn't tell anyone that I had it. And then I didn't really need to use any of the advantages that I got on Deception Island, but going to Deception Island, it kind of put me in the background of this game, and I can see why people think that maybe I didn't do a lot. it is because of the Deception Island trip. But those were, the ways that I try to use what I had. And at the final five, I had that double vote. I played it just in case I needed to play it. It wasn't like against you, Michael. I just played it just because if Z or someone, Tim or Kevin, tried to flip the vote on me for some reason, I don't know. I just played it out there just to be safe.
Okay, I appreciate that, Robert, what you just said, that you played it just to be safe, because it definitely, like, in the moment felt like just kind of like throwing extra salt in the wound, but you definitely explained that really well. Now what I do want to say is it did feel like throwing salt in the wound for Z to give Kevin his idol, because you already knew that I was leaving, but then to also give an idol to the person that I am most likely able to get votes on, that just really felt like it was throwing extra salt in the wound.
Can I offer a rebuttal to that?
No. So I would like to say I really appreciate Kevin and my relationship in this game. We were back and forth the whole time. We never really worked together, but I love the fact that we could go on call afterwards and still just laugh about the fact that we're both still in the game somehow. And then while Robert definitely did play not as like flashy of a game, I do respect that he didn't have to use these advantages that he was given. Yes, he was offered them and he could have used them, but he didn't have to. And I think you used that to your advantage. And also with Kevin, the same thing. Like being offered an advantage was about luck, whether you got it offered to you or not. And so I think Kevin using just the knowledge to his advantage was very good in this game. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say. So Kevin and Robert, good luck. Yeah, that's all I have to say. I'm gonna listen while I'm in Walmart, so.
Great, thank you, Michael. So whoever wants to step up next, feel free to.
I guess since no one else is stepping up, I might as well. For those who never spoke to me, because I literally went out first, hi, my name's Jack. Most of you don't know me. So my main question is for Z. So you and I connected pretty early on in this game just because you had hosted me in a game literally right before this, and I was a big player in that game. However, you just said something that struck me the wrong way. You mentioned how you, Kevin, and Johnny were the final three, yet I had the impression that I was in a final three with you and Kevin. So what am I missing that I suddenly am now just like a third piece to an already formed final three, and that I'm just going to end up being dragged along until I get cut?
Yeah, it's a perfectly fair question. So originally, Johnny and I had basically made a connection on the first day because I was pretty much the only person in this game that he knew. I was trying to basically work it so that each of us would be talking to separate people and seeing what could come of it. Does that mean that when a group of four was originally made with yourself, myself, Kevin, and Nathan, was I viewing that as a final four at that point? No, I can honestly say I wasn't. What did change was that through my experiences with Johnny, first of all, through the pre-merge, and then also within the SWAT tribe, I began to realize that actually, of the people I'd been playing with, you were probably the one that I had fewest questions about their loyalty. which means that when I immediately got back in touch with you, when the tribes merged again, at that point, my priorities had flipped, and if you'd have asked me at that point, do we have a final three, I would have told you yes. But I cannot lie to you and say that at the original point, that's where I was. It was more something that over time I realized that actually you were probably somebody that I could work with better. I apologize if that doesn't allay all of your fears, but it is an honest answer that had you stuck around after that first merge vote, you as well as Kevin would have been my priority.
Okay, next I'll ask Robert. What the fuck did you do? Just like straight up, I don't know who you are. Like, I literally had no interaction with you, and as such, I simply can't vote with you. So, knowing literally nothing about you, why should I vote you at all?
Yeah, I mean, I get the concern. We weren't, the very first tribe, we were split apart when we did the swap tribe. We weren't together. And as soon as we hit the merge, I went straight to Deception Island. I came back. You were gone. So, yeah, you're right. We didn't have really any type of connection at all. I knew your vote would probably be the hardest because I've talked to you the least. All I can say is, just base your vote off who you think played the better route. I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you. I haven't bullshitted anyone this entire game. There was a couple times where, I did make some lies, but for the most part, I stuck to my word with the people that I worked with. I played truthfully as best as I could. And if you had played with me, if we were on the same team, I would have done the same for you too.
And because I can't think of a question for Kevin alone, I'll ask this to both Kevin and Z. To start, I was the one who had the hickey vote and voted Z in the first tribal. How did you use me throwing a wrench into the system to better your game? Start with Kevin.
Wait, sorry. Can you repeat that last part of the question?
How did you use the fact that there was a hinky vote in the first tribal to better your game and prepare yourself going forward?
I mean, realistically, the only thing that hinky vote ended up doing was sowing the distrust in the Nathan vote, because Z got really paranoid about it, and Nathan was also doing the kind of Jackson thing from Big Brother 21, asking about the hinky vote that doesn't really mean anything. So honestly, I didn't really use the hinky vote as any advantage in the game. The only thing that it did was it pushed me more to voting out Nathan, which I still hold that even though maybe not in that moment it was the right time, that made sure that Nick ended up going on New Aguirre, which kept me in the game despite being in a 4-1 minority. But yeah, I'm sorry, Jack. I didn't really use that hinky vote to really advance my game. It just put distrust into Nathan in my mind. Also, I'm shocked that it was you. Like,
And Z?
Yeah, I can't lie. I'm kind of surprised it was you too. But now that you say it, it's sort of it strikes me as the sort of mischief you would cause. From my perspective, sure, I was a little bit paranoid about it, but I was able to, I suppose, overplay the amount of paranoia I was feeling purposefully because it made me seem nearer to the bottom and less of a threat, because I believe that if I'm getting votes on the first round, it probably means that I am some sort of a threat if it's not going to be unanimous. Additionally, I had different conversations with different people. Some people I told I suspected it was Nathan. Some people I told I suspected it was John. I think a couple of other people I sort of pushed the blame elsewhere. It basically allowed me to gather people's thoughts and feelings on what they thought happened, maybe stoke some paranoia within them about who they could trust. I'll be honest, because my actual gut feeling was that it was Nathan, and Nathan I thought was probably trying to get me to become a little more destabilized. And so as a result, actually, I purposely played it pretty calmly, because I didn't want to give somebody the reaction they were specifically looking for. But yeah, it sort of, I don't think it hurt me. I think it helped me a little bit because it allowed me to see who else on the original Aguirre tribe didn't trust who, and who thought, other people might be being duplicitous. So obviously it wasn't a particularly fun thing to have an extra vote on me, but at the same time, I think it did help me in some ways with my social game.
Well, thank you. At this point, my vote is very much locked. Good luck.
All right. Thank you, Jack. Who's next? We got Tim, we got Tawny, we got Livingston.
I'll go.
Okay. Tawny, the floor is yours.
So this is like a question, same question for all of y'all. Qualified enough to think of individual questions. So if you were on the jury and the other two people were sitting up there, who's the person you wouldn't vote for and why?
Thanks, guys.
So none of us three. So then.
No, it would be like you would be like, who would you not vote for? Either Robert or Z.
She's saying if it was a final two and you got voted out at third, who would you not vote for or vote for? That's what she's saying.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I don't, I'm not really too sure. I probably would not vote Robert. Sorry, Robert, but you were instrumental in flipping the vote. But there really wasn't much in this game that you can pinpoint to was solely you. But at the same time, a common theme I'm hearing on this jury is people that have felt slighted by Z. So I personally didn't have that experience in this game, but had I had that experience in this game, that may sway my vote. But that's purely a hypothetical for a different way this game would have turned out. But just strictly on the merits, I wouldn't vote Robert. Sorry, Robert.
No, it's cool. I mean, I understand what you're saying about the the strategic, and I'm not gonna bullshit anyone. I didn't really have one specific mood where I came up with by myself. So I mean, I'm not gonna take credit for anyone else's shit. But if I came in third place, I think I wouldn't vote for Z because just based off all the reactions a lot of the jurors are saying from him, I don't know, Kevin, me and Kevin were good allies. Me and Zeke came good allies, more towards the end of the game. So I felt like Kevin would have received my vote to win if it was a final two.
I'm sort of probably concur with Kevin on this one. I think Robert's social game was his strength. Personally, as a juror, I always value physical and strategic over social. So I'd be voting Kevin based on strategy, because the physical element up until the final four was much of a muchness between the two of them.
Thank y'all.
Okay. If that's it for Tawny, then we'll move on to either Tim or Livingston.
Up to you, Dad.
I guess I'll go, son. Okay, so so first of all three of you, I worked with you in some capacity throughout the game. Wherever my vote goes tonight, I will say I think I know where my vote's going, but I want to be a fair juror. I'm willing to hear you out. I've been listening this whole time. I assume that nothing you've said has gotten past me. So first up, I want to go in reverse alphabetical order. I'm going to start up with Z, everyone's favorite finalist to hate currently. I want to know a little bit more about my blind side, Z, because I did not expect it. I commend you for it. I knew pretty much the second I got off that Zoom call, I knew who the four was that voted for me. So what I want to know is, there's the whole touchy subjects thing of Livingston's winning this game. I think that's arguable, but why did you do it when you did it, considering I'm not good at competitions, and I think in theory you could have picked me off at any time. So yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so there's several factors at play about this one. First of all, the vote that the six of us that were together at the time wanted to do, they wanted, because of how that vote was, that reverse vote, to do a 3-3 split. That didn't work for me, because all it would have taken would have been one person to flip back to the other side, or flip to the other side in the first place, and probably either Tim or myself is in trouble. And at that point, it doesn't benefit me for Tim to leave the game, and it certainly doesn't benefit me for me leaving the game, as my hamster won't shut up. Second of all, the reason it was you was because you were close to Kevin, you were close to Tawny, you were close to Robert. At that point, you had a really strong social grip within that six. And what worried me about taking it to the six was that depending on which way Kevin went, it was either likely to be a 3-3 split at six, or a 4-2 against me. I had to make a move against sort of that group. The fact that it was you, it weakened Kevin's position in the game, and that meant that it strengthened my chances of Kevin carrying on going with me far in the game. Losing the split vote, which Tawny wasn't expecting, would further throw doubt on whether or not she could trust Kevin, because the round before she'd been left in the dark about the split on the Dan vote. She was the only person to vote Gwen. So there were four factors to it, and that's why it was you, and that's why it was then.
Also, another aspect of the question I forgot to throw in there. So when I went to Deception Island, when Tawny sent me to Deception Island, the advantage, so to speak, that I got was the advantage of information. I knew the 10-minute live night thing. So I asked Tim about this, and Tim said you orchestrated it, but Tim said it happened during the 10 minutes. So I'm wondering, did you come up with it prior to the 10 minutes, or as far as Tim knows, it happened during the 10 minutes?
I had been considering it during the first tribal.
Yeah.
However, it was never discussed until the second that was over. That 10-minute period, I went to Tim. I said, look, I have this potentially crazy idea, but I think it's a good one. We need to think fast. Are you prepared to go with it? It wasn't thought about when you gave us the information. It was thought about as I was witnessing the dynamics of the first tribal.
Okay. Okay, so now I have a question. I had one specifically for Z because I really wanted to know more about what happened there. But this one is for Robert and Kevin. And Robert will go first and then Kevin. It's a very simple question. What separates you from the two people sitting next to you? Robert, you're up first.
Honestly, I think I played better socially than the two sitting next to me. My whole game is revolved around how do I get to the end and how do I get there the easiest way. You know, I don't want to put myself in the fire. I don't want to put myself in front of bullets all the time. I want to get to the end as easily as I possibly can. And I believe by doing that is being loyal and being truthful to the people that I'm working with and trying to get them as far as I possibly can. You know, like when you start a relationship, the best thing to do is honesty, is just to be honest with people. And I think that people trusted me a lot more than the other two people sitting next to me. And that's what, you know, people wanted to bring me along because they're like, Robert isn't going to lie to me. Robert's not going to backstab me. And it's true. Livingston, I wanted you to sit there with us at least until top 6. You know, I wanted me, you, Tawny, Tim, Kevin, and Z there. Your blind side, I had no idea about it. And that was a complete blind side to me too. But, you know, I was honest with you and I wanted to get you as far as possible as well.
So I do just want to agree with what Robert had said. The entire idea was I wanted it to be, exactly the 6 that Robert had said. I thought that 6 would have given me and Robert the best chance to get to the end with whatever side. The only reason that your vote out ended up happening is strictly because of the live night. It would not have been possible without it. But, you know, Robert has said he thinks he played a good social game. Z has said he played a good strategic game. I'm the only one here that has played both. The downside of my physical game, yes, I got second like 3 or 4 times. Did I ever need immunity to be safe? I didn't. And even when votes were coming on me, I wasn't going to get voted out. I had put myself in a position that I was always going to be able to get forward. And even in Livingston's blind side, which that's one of the biggest faults of my game, I had no idea that happened. But in reality, all that did was made sure that Tawny thought the only people that she could trust in this game were me and Robert. And that made the potential of getting idled out from Tawny 0. And it helped us be able to progress further if it wasn't for Michael to just go on fucking immunity runs. But that's my pitch. They each can pick out their social game, their strategic game. I'm the only person that did both.
Thank y'all. That'll be all. Good luck.
If you want to ask Gwen's question, you can, Julian.
Yeah. So I thought Gwen was here, but she seems to have vanished. But she did send me her questions in case she wasn't available to make it. So I'll go grab those real quick.
I had a feeling Final Tribal was going to be intense after this fucking season. Like, it's only goddamn fitting. Also, I'll just put this on the record. I wanted to win that comp so bad, I pissed in the goddamn bottle with my arm straight up to go as far as I could. An hour and a half into it.
Hey, if I didn't go to the bathroom before we started, I would have done the same thing.
If I didn't drink half of this during that comp, that wouldn't have
That's
happened.
not my. That's just your stupidity.
So I do have Gwen's questions prepared. So I'll just go in order. To Kevin, you talked to Dan, me, and myself about playing the middle. Do you feel you were able to implement the strategy effectively? What barriers did you face, and how did you overcome them?
Well, the barrier that I face is that the people that I wanted to work in the middle with didn't seem to want to be in the middle. But what ended up happening is that it solidified me with the minority alliance and was able to take out pretty much the majority. And then pretty much it put me right back in the middle because I just swapped out Dan, Johnny, and Gwen for Livingston and Tawny. And without Michael going on that immunity run and the live night, the final 6 would have been that 6. And I would have been able to stay in the middle probably to the end of the game.
Can I just mention how it keeps being said that I went on an immunity run when I won just as many immunities.
Two. It just won 2. It was just at a very unfortunate time.
I just won them in a row.
Yes.
Yeah.
We didn't like you winning 2. We just wanted you to win 1. And the second one, we were just like, no.
Okay, so Gwen's question to Robert. Robert, I didn't get to know you very well in the game because one of us was always on Deception Island. However, I did enjoy the conversations we did have. I'm sure that being on Deception Island so often made it harder for you to form connections with new people after the merge. What did you do to overcome this?
Okay, so once we got to the merge, there was, once I came back to the merge from Deception Islands, there was already sides being picked, and I just basically had to pick a side. I went with, Tim, Livingston, Kevin, Tawny, and Z, and that was the majority from then on out. As far as connections, I talked to you. I talked to Dan before he got voted off, but I felt like, just building the personal connections, because I didn't want to make game connections because I didn't want to, keep promises that I wasn't going to be able to keep. And I feel like a lot of people look down on that. So I just wanted to stick with the people that I was with as far as it could go, and, not work with the people that I was against. And that was it. I felt like maybe I made more personal connections with you guys than game connections, and that was strategy too.
Z, you're going to like this last question.
Gwen's question for Z. Z, in the merge, I perceive Tim as the alpha player of your duo. What is a decision that you made and convinced Tim to follow your decision rather than you doing what he wanted?
Well, the Livingston move was my decision. I think possibly where Gwen has a misconception is that I approached Tim with the idea on that messaged Gwen and Michael about it because I wanted to discuss it a bit further with him. He just decided that, yeah, fine, let's go with it. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, that was my idea, was all my idea, and quite probably wouldn't have happened unless I'd messaged him first.
Can I make a comment really quick?
Okay.
About that, and it's not negative towards Z. That day, Tim did tell us that it was Z's idea, so I'll just put that out there.
All right. So Dan wants to go next. He can go really quickly. Go ahead.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
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 Okay. So mine is pretty quick. And honestly, I haven't listened to anything. I'm gonna listen to the whole thing. So if I sound really dumb because people already talked about this or whatever, it's fine. I'll listen to it and then readjust my vote or whatever. But I just wanted to congratulate Kevin on making the final one of the season. It's really remarkable that he was able to get to the end just by himself. It's really great that he was able to do that. So Kevin, congratulations on final one. It's a crazy twist, and you were able to figure out how to get to the end by yourself. Towards you, but I hope that you know that after thinking about it, you played a really great game. I just wanted to clarify something with you because I'm not sure if it was told to you in a misconstrued way by Tawny. So there was a conversation that was had between me, Gwen, and Johnny about your eyebrow raising, which we thought was a tell for when you thought we were talking bullshit. And it was never supposed to be a personal thing. So getting attacked by Tawny for being a terrible person as soon as she got to jury, I just want to make sure that you know that it was never anything personal. We literally thought it was just like a tell, like, you know, people have a tell when lying. So I hope that that wasn't misconstrued to you as us being like bullies or like anything like that. It was taken out of context, and I just wanted to clarify that and clarify that I'm not a terrible person. So if anybody else hears that from anybody else, just know that that's not the intention of what happened. So again, Kevin, congratulations on final one. That's all I have to say.
Sorry.
No,
yeah. So I just want to say, and then like I've been waiting to be able to put this out, like because I've been hearing on like people in like alumni chats are talking shit. There's no ill will. And now that I know that you guys thought it was a tell, you can bet your ass in a future game I'm gonna be like, so you wanna go with me? like I'm gonna use that now. No, it's no ill will. You know, like I've had to answer you, Johnny and Gwen, all while the other two aren't there. So like I've had to just say it like 3 times. You guys were the people that I talked to more than anyone in this game, because well, Michael too, because like the personal connection was genuine. There is no ill will. You guys were great to talk to. I'm really sorry that, you know, I ended up turning on you guys, and yeah, like I understand why you guys are upset. You know, I just hope when everything's said and done, that you guys could be able to see it from my perspective and where I was at. But there's no ill will. To be honest, I was more confused by the God complex comment. I still don't really know what that is.
I just thought it was like low-key a little embarrassing when you were posting like wrestling gifs afterwards after the idol play. Like I just was like, I was more embarrassed than myself, like because I kind of screwed up the relationship with you thanks to Tim. So like Tim not telling us that the vote was Michael is completely different if we knew that the votes were solidly on Michael, because if we knew that the votes were solidly on Michael, we would have never broke trust with you. So like, yeah, I think it was more just like me being like bitter and annoyed that if I knew that my game was coming crashing down around me. So I apologize if that was taken at any point past game level.
I just want to respond. They told me to lie to you. They said I literally asked them, what should I do if Dan and Gwen talk to me? And they said, lie to them. So don't blame this on me.
Look,
do not blame this on me.
All I'm hearing is that all of this is just ended up being like miscommunication on 3 sides of the game's fault, and that's kind of just how the dominoes fell in this game.
If they told me to tell you to vote Michael, I would have done it. But they told me to lie.
Absolutely. And like, it's okay. I'm literally not pressed or mad about anybody. I just like to be a shady little bitch. So anyway, that's all I really have to say. I have to go because I'm driving, but that's all I have. So.
Thank you, Dan.
I just want to stand up for myself. I deserve this.
So Nick already sent in their statement. It's been forwarded. The final 3's had a chance to react. So that leaves us with 1 jury.
Wait, can I see the poster?
Can you read it?
Yeah, I want to hear this.
I think a lot of us would like to hear it.
Or at least put it in Ponderosa. You don't have to put it publicly. Put it in Ponderosa. I want to see this.
Yeah, let me go find it.
Okay.
All Nick had to say
my jury speech
was,
will be very no.
Nick didn't have questions. They just had a short statement. Congratulations to all 3 finalists. I think that some people on the jury feel that they deserve the spots over you, but at the end of the day, you're here and they aren't, so congratulations. May the best man win.
Oh, that's nice. I wanted bitterness, and I didn't get
All right,
that.
so
Okay.
Tim, go ahead. The floor is yours.
I patiently waited all this time. Okay. I was going to have some many statements, but I'll cut it down to 1 or 2, and I'll ask my question. So 3 years ago, I was in the exact same position you were. I was in the final 3, awaiting the jurors that already made up their minds, and I had no chance. And I'm going to give all 3 of you an opportunity. I don't know how many jurors you may have flipped, but coming into this, I would say 90% of them had their minds made up. So I'm probably one of the few votes. I have no idea who you're voting. I'm not. I may have looked through all the chat, but I'm not going to be influenced by any of the jurors' attitudes or perceptions. So, I just want to give you a chance for that. So, since you guys played with me the longest, I'm gonna give you a chance to test your social game, I guess. Sure, this is open-ended. You can interpret this the way you want. Either you can give me what case I should have brought if I was in the final three instead of you, or what case I was going to bring. Because I had this fucking speech mapped out. Stupid fucking book. Anyway, okay, so either make the best case for me, or what case you think the whoever wants to go first, if you have any things with it, go for it.
Yeah, I think that you and Z would make similar pitches, because the general perception of the game is that you guys were a duo, that your decisions were made together. So your biggest thing would be have to differentiate why you were the alpha in that duo. You know, you did play a social game. I'll give you that. May not be the social game that I would play in any way. But Tim plays the game really uniquely that only really Tim can do. But I think your biggest thing would be, why was your game different than Z's? And could you have gotten to this point if Z had gone out in Jack's spot? You are a pretty convincing person, so I would imagine that your speech would reflect that. As to whether it would be a winning speech, I don't know. It's purely hypothetical. But I mean, it worked in Taze. So like, you would have your unique way. My biggest thing for you would be, why were you the alpha, the one making all the decisions for Z?
Okay, I'll go next. Tim, I am actually really shocked that the way you play. You played actually pretty good. In one of my very first diary rooms, I even said it. I was like, I know Tim, and he is going to self-explode at some point. And it's because of Wanges and everything. And
then the final six
I was just
happens.
like, man, yeah. I was like, man, and then at the final six, one of my diary rooms, I was like, remember when I said earlier that Tim was going to self-explode? Well, here it is. Watch this. But no, I think I underestimated your loyalty. I thought you were gonna try to just like jit me, be like, haha, here's this. But you played very loyal, and you caused somewhat paranoia a lot between the tribes. So you did a good job with that, and I think you could have used that as you pressured a lot of people to do different things the way that you wanted them. I don't know how it would have turned out. Maybe if you would have ended up here, that would have definitely worked for you. And just to put it out there, I am the final four. I should have told you that I was gonna vote you out. From the bottom of my heart, I am really sorry, and if I lost your respect because of that, if I lost your vote because of it, so be it. I am really sorry, Tim, but I think regardless, friends with the other side of this game.
I think, I mean, sort of, I'm not quite sure in this hypothetical whose place you're expecting to have taken.
Let's just say your own. Let's just say your own.
Okay. In which case, I think that what you could probably say is that throughout the pre-merge and the swap phase, you were making connections all the way through that were likely to get you further later on. That is certainly something about your game that would have happened over the other two. Kevin, like my own, his pre-merge was messy, Robert didn't necessarily seem to be forming those bonds at that point, which means that you were probably in a position of strength going into the merge phase, more so than any of the rest of us were in like that minority alliance, because you did have more social connections on the other side. So I would probably be playing that element up. I think also, if I'm not here, then you have a lot of props to be gained from the Livingston vote. Because whilst I know that you wouldn't necessarily sort of take the credit for it entirely, you could at least offer a compelling case about your involvement in it. It would set you apart from the other two, because where they, for the most part, played their side and only flipped where they felt they had to, you were, along with myself, actually willing to take the bull by the horns and go to where you needed to go to further your position.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Okay. So if that's it, then we're going to go into closing speeches. And after that, I'm going to stop the hangout, get this uploaded, and all the jurors can watch over it and get their votes in tonight. Cool, cool. So we're going to go in reverse order that you guys opened in, which means, Robert, you will go first.
All right. So I'm glad this is finally over with. I've been waiting for this day to happen for so long, because finally I could have some time to myself. But I don't regret anything that I've done in this game. All the relationships I made in this game outside of here, I will keep them 100%. I'm never bitter towards anybody. I love every single one of you. One person that I didn't really get to speak to, Tawny. I told these guys during the rites of passage that when I had to vote you out that final 6, it was the toughest decision I've ever made in any group game. And right after that, I went to my sister's birthday dinner, and I could not enjoy it because of how bad I felt. But I knew that I had to do it to get me to sit here into this final 3, and I hope there's no hard feelings towards that. Tim, I apologize to you too. Everyone else on the jury, I know a lot of you may think I didn't do a lot in this game, and I'm gonna be honest with you. It's because I kind of didn't, but I think it was because of the whole Deception Island twist. You have to put that into account too. I was there for 2 the merge votes, the very first 2, and those were very critical in the game where sides were formed, and I got thrown back in there. I had to pick a side. I rolled with it. I was loyal to my side, and I didn't have to make, like everyone was saying, the strategic moves and everything. I didn't have to do that because I was never, like they said, I was never in danger of going home. That last challenge, I sat there for almost over 3 hours. I didn't do it because I needed to. I did it because I wanted to. Both Tim and Kevin, there were the ones that were gonna go home. I made them both drop, and I was gonna keep going, and I kept going just to break the record. And the only reason why that I even stopped is because I had to go to work, and I missed my first 2 hours of work. But don't worry, I didn't get in trouble because of that. Other than that, no hard feelings towards any of you guys. I'll appreciate any vote I can get. I don't care if it's because you thought I played a better game or because, I'm wearing a cool hat. Whatever. If you guys want to vote for me, go for it. If not, no hard feelings.
My hat's cool too.
All right, thank you, Robert. Z, go ahead.
Okay, so I've been taking a lot of heat during this final tribal. I was kind of expecting it. It's part of the reason why I'm happy to sit here with the 2 people I'm sat with, because I knew whatever happened, I was going to take some heat, and I truly believe that both of them have played good games, even if I still think mine has plenty of merits. I only have one regret in this game. I've made that very clear. The only regret I have was arguing with Michael. That's the only one, because I should have taken myself offline because I was too heated. I don't like arguing over games. I don't mind being seen as the villain, but I only like being the villain within a game setting. I don't like it turning personal. Yes, I won competitions, but like Kevin, I don't feel that I ever needed to win those competitions. I don't feel I was at any risk of going home. They merely helped me be able to target the people that needed to go home at those points. I understand that you guys, for the most part, don't necessarily seem to value my social game, but I stick by it. I can't be something that I'm not. I can't be sweetness and light and whispering sweet nothings in your ear to try and make you feel more comfortable. That's not my style. I'm always going to be blunt. I'm always going to sort of, for the most part, tell you to your face what I'm thinking. And if I really need to lie, which I hate doing, but I will do it. Strategically, I still think that I made plenty of big moves. The Dan move, which didn't get discussed, was the first part that went with what I said about Livingston's vote, in that it allowed a safe option to take out somebody who at that point I didn't have a good relationship with. They wanted to take out Gwen at that point. Tawny was left thinking it was still Gwen. That was twofold. Gwen I thought I could still work with if I needed to, and I knew it would probably piss off Tawny being left in the dark, which would make her throw more doubt on Kevin. So all the way through, I may not have made the moves you wanted me to. I may not have flipped to your side, but I made the moves that best benefited me. I represented myself as accurately as I possibly could. It's won me games before, it'll lose me games again. I'm unapologetic about it, and I hope that if you see things in even a vaguely similar way to how I do, that you'll still consider giving me your vote, because I do think that on many levels I did play the best game. On some levels I didn't. I understand that. None of the three of us have played a flawless game. But anyway, for the most part, I want to thank you for your questions. Some of you, I want to tell you, fuck you for your questions. But yeah, it's been a great game, and I think I'm fairly sure we know who wins at this point, but I'm okay with that, because I think that they're going to be a great representative for this season. But for God's sake, throw me a couple of votes so I can at least get second, all right?
So something I didn't address in my opening statement, which I do want to address, is I fully admit that I did make. The reason being is that I didn't expect to make the personal connections that I actually ended up making on this season. I try my best in these games to disassociate my emotions with the game, but like prime example, like with Michael, with like every single time we just wrote each other's names down, and it felt like 4 tribals in a row where we had a call be like, why'd you write my name down? And so I understand that some of these moves that, as it's been revealed on this tribal, that, maybe I wasn't always 100% loyal to you. I did it just, I felt like my social game just became really real. And you know what? Even though that it could be a fault in this game, I don't see it like that. I don't see it like that, because I've made some friends on this site now that I can go on the season. And as for my strategic game, being on the swapped up wire, I still will always believe that had I not been able to make those connections with Tawny, Livingston, and Robert, the majority would have never flipped, because Z and Tim weren't going to be able to flip all 3 of them as soon as Robert came back. And, in the end, who had made the Livingston blindside was a big move, but who had made the move that impacted the game the biggest? That would be me. This tribal, Z has taken some of it is possibly warranted. I don't think he should take as much heat as he's gotten. I just feel that, sometimes Z's too blunt. That's just kind of how he is. Robert's been taking a lot of heat for not doing too much in this game, but I'll continue to say it in my confessionals and everything. Robert may not have done a lot in the game, but he was instrumental in flipping the numbers. And that I don't feel like Robert can really get faulted much by having really large meat shields in front of him. It's a viable strategy, and yeah. Even though this one is like way more rambling than my opening speech, I do feel like at this point I do feel like I might win this game. I really do hope I do. But you know what? In the end, I've said it in my confessionals that you guys will see. In the end, even if I don't win this game, knowing that this was the best season of Trinity that they've had by a long shot, and knowing that each one of us had a big impact on the season, it's going to be worth it no matter what. As to whether some of you deserve to be here more than us, I still believe that Michael should probably be here, and would have probably won a 9-0 sweep. Livingston as well. One of my last things, Tawny, why did you not play the idol? Like, I know, and it's like, but I do want to say, because I thought you were going to address it in your question, like Robert, I am very, very sorry for how it went down. It's one of the things that I do want to be able to talk after the season, to hopefully better explain my side. I don't want to do it to try to pander for a vote. I don't think I deserve your vote. I really don't, because you were the person that I did the dirtiest to. As for the rest of you, I hope you vote for me. I do feel like I'd be a good representative of this season. And if not, I'll see the vast majority of you in All-Stars, hopefully.
All right.
She didn't play her idol because she didn't believe me.
Thank you.
All Stars
everyone.
is really going to be season 3 done over.
This season has been absolutely insane, and I've loved every moment of it. But we can only have one winner, unfortunately. So now it will be turned over to the jury. You will have today, the next few hours, to watch over Final Tribal, to cast your votes for the winner of the season. We will reconvene in a few hours on another Zoom to crown a winner. Good luck to you three, and thank you everyone for a wonderful season.